Hey everyone, welcome back to Ragtag Stacking. In today's video, I want to talk about the top 10 countries that have the most silver and gold reserves. Now, before I get into that, I just want to say again that the heat and the humidity up in Toronto is still through the roof. So if you hear the fan in the background, I do apologize, but I do need it on while I'm recording because it is quite hot back here. Because I came across this article and it was talking about, I believe it was Thailand is leading this year, at least 2021, with how much they've been picking up, and it got me thinking about doing the list of the top 10 countries that have the most silver and gold reserves, because I previously, about maybe a week ago or a couple of days ago, just did one on the top 10 silver and gold producers, the countries that produce the most. So then when I saw this thing about Thailand, I went and looked up the top 10 for each, and it was a pretty interesting list, kind of like the ones with the producers. So I thought it would be pretty interesting to see which countries are actually holding the most gold. And if you did watch the video from as I said a couple of days ago, or close to a week ago, about the top 10 producers, there is some overlap. There are some countries that you'll be seeing on both lists, but then there are some new countries that you'll see just on the reserve list here, and that makes sense because I guess if they live in a region where they don't produce as much, I guess they need to pick it up and buy it and hold on to it as much as they can. So that's why they're building up their reserves. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump onto the computer and go through some of the countries there. And I'm going to start with, just like with the last one, I'm going to start with the top 10 silver list. Okay, so this is the article here. It's on Statista, and it says here silver reserves worldwide as of 2020 by country. And all of these numbers here, you can see that they are in the 1,000 metric tons. So it's kind of represented here in a chart. Before, when I was talking about the countries that produce the most, they kind of had like a little paragraph to go with each, talking about it. But here it's just showing the amount that they have. And I said top 10 countries, but as you can see with this here, they only give 9 countries, and the bottom one here is the amount that other countries have. I guess just the rest. So here's the top 9, and then other countries that it shows rounding out the silver reserves. So yeah, there are a lot of familiar names in here for the silver side. There isn't a country that I see that didn't make it onto the gold production chart, but the order is a little mixed up here because I remember the Mexico was number 1 in production, and down here, what are they? Where is it? 6th. They rank 6th in the reserves by country. They only have 37,000 metric tons. And like with that other list, I noticed that South America is quite prevalent with the amount of silver that they had. They had 5 of the top 10 on there, and I believe the one country that's left off here from that list is Argentina. But Peru, Mexico obviously is in South America, but same general region. Chile and Bolivia, they all are still on this list here. Bolivia and Chile are at the bottom, followed by the United States, who's tied with Chile with 26,000. And Peru is up at the top there with 91,000 metric tons of the reserves. And then you got Poland and Russia there as well. Just, rounding out the top 10. Rounding out the top 5 has China just below Russia. So yeah, that's the silver reserves here. This was an article from February 19th, 2021. I don't think they have many, reports or data on the 2021 reserves for silver. That'll probably come out at the end of the year when they give the reports. So this is as up to date as I could find. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over to the gold section and show you the countries that lead in gold reserves. So this is usfunds.com. This is where they have the top 10 for gold. And it's going to go down here a little bit. It says top 10 countries by gold reserves, and this is from April 29th, 2021. And continuing down here, it says global central banks have been net buyers of gold for 11 consecutive years. And this shows the years and how much has been bought by global banks all over the world, or central banks all over the world. But then going down here, it has the top 10 list. And it is quite different from what the gold producing countries list was, the top 10 gold producing countries. I'm counting it up here. The bottom 4 from the Netherlands to Switzerland, they did not appear. And fourth, third, and second, which is France, Italy, and Germany. Those three countries did not appear on the gold producing countries list. So it's pretty interesting that, obviously, I guess in a lot of these areas there isn't enough gold, or there's not much gold to mine. It's just, certain geological areas just doesn't have the gold deposits in their countries to mine it. So if they do have holdings of it, they need to purchase it. And it's pretty interesting. They show that what does it say here? The United States holds the number one spot at over 8,000 tons of gold in its vaults, nearly as much as the next three countries combined, and it accumulates for 79% of their total reserves. I thought that was a pretty interesting high total for the States, where it's close to 80% of their entire reserves is made up of gold, whereas China's in the sixth spot here. They obviously have less tons, and they have 1948. But if you look at their total holdings, it's only 3% of their total holdings is in gold. I thought that would be a bigger number, especially with the way China has been buying up gold. Same with Russia. Russia has been buying up gold quite a bit, and India as well. They've been trying to get as much gold as they can, or as much gold as they can get their hands on. So I'm just surprised by the low percentage of total reserves that it accounts for those countries. Yeah, just looking at this top 10 here, the Netherlands is at the 10th spot. They have the 613 tons. So it might not be the most on the list. It's 10th, obviously, at 613 tons. But for the Netherlands, that's quite a bit, because it accounts for 71% of their entire reserves. And then just going up, India's got a little bit more at 658, and Japan's at 765. Then there's a little bit of a jump to Switzerland, cracking the 1,000 mark there at 1040. 1,040 tons, and then China's just under 2,000 at 1948. Then we see Russia and France are very close together. Actually, Russia, France, and Italy are very close. They're all within, 150 tons. And then Germany's got 3364, and like I said, the States is just over 8,000 at 8,134. Now it's interesting because I have done videos talking about one specific congressman. I believe his name is Alex Mooney from West Virginia. I've done some videos where he's suggesting that the reserve gets a full audit, because there hasn't been a full audit of the U.S. reserves for, I believe, since they said the Eisenhower administration, so well over 60 years. So it'd be pretty interesting if that goes anywhere. I highly doubt it will, because I don't think it's in anyone's interest that wants it kept quiet to actually say how much tons there are there. I just find it interesting that they claim that they're holding 8,000, yet they haven't had an actual physical count of how much gold that they have in reserve. And this is just another chart here. I'm not going to go over it too much, but it says 10 central banks made net purchases of 1 ton or more in 2020, highlighting the continued demand for the precious metal. Turkey was the number one buyer for the second straight year, adding 134.5 tons, and was also the largest seller after decreasing holdings by 36.3 tons. So there's that list there talking about central banks being slowed in 2020, and then net sales and purchases in tons. So yes, of course, that is the list here that I wanted to talk about. That's the main purpose of it, was going through the top 10 countries with the most reserves. And you've got the general information there. But if you did want a little bit further in depth on each country, kind of like the gold producing video that I did, the countries that produce the most, this one does have a little bit of a write-up of the top 10, starting down here with the Netherlands. The silver site that I used for this video didn't have the write-ups, but the gold site here does. So if you did want to read into that, like I said, the links will be in the description. Okay, so there you go. That is the list there for the top 10 silver and gold reserves by country. And the silver was that stayed pat. You didn't see too much turnover of countries there. But on the gold side, you can see it was quite a big change from the producing side. And a couple of countries that left off that I noticed one was Canada. Canada didn't make it onto the top 10 of countries that have the most gold reserves, but I believe on the gold producing list, Canada cracked the top 5. I believe it was in 5th place. And Australia was another one too that was off of the list here for the country with the most reserves. But when it came time to go over the top 10 for countries that produce the most gold. I believe Australia was in the third spot. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the difference in the gold reserves as opposed to the gold production. Whereas the silver, there isn't much of a turnover of countries. It was basically the exact same countries that you saw, -1 because the 10th one on the reserves was a compilation of all other countries. So they basically gave 9 countries, and the 10th was just a combination. But no new countries popped into the top 9 of silver. It was all the same names and same countries that showed up on the silver producing video as well. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you think, if there's any surprises on the list, or if you'd be interested. So let me know in the comments what you think, and especially with the states, because they say that they have the most in reserve, but yet it seems like anytime they call for any sort of audit with their gold, they seem to be dragging their feet and not really interested in doing so. So it'd be pretty interesting if they had a full accounting of all of the reserves. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you're surprised by any of the names on the list, or if anything else, or if you want to comment on anything else. I always like to hear it, and I try to respond to everything as quick as I can. But anyways, thanks again for watching, and I hope you come back for the next one. Thank you.